Number 3, of course, as we see in the loading screen, Fnatic's Nama and Millenium's 4GG. Just kind of, yeah, looking, we'll kind of go over the last game here in a sec. I thought Nama was going to load a little bit quicker so we could get the introduction started, but he's being a little bit of a butt. And it's funny, I kind of laughed if you guys saw earlier when I saw Nama, he's going to be up next. I'm like, he's one of my favorites, man. I love him. The Nama, the cheeser himself, so... Alright, here we go. Down at the bottom left side, a little bit of AFK at the very first few seconds of the game, representing Fnatic. It is Nama. There we go. And yeah, like I said, right before the game chat, I saw him in there. He's going to be playing next. I'm like, what's up, dude? I've cast him before and stuff like that. He's like, he responds to me in Russian, which means I'm doing good, so... Which was kind of very funny to see, and of course always appreciate watching his games. And over here, guys, at the top left side of the map, representing Millenium in the red trunks, it will be the Terran player 4GG. So, going from PBZ to TBZ to TBT, last game we watched as 4GG played a wonderful, very simplistic, again, back-to-back games, very simplistic openers, nothing too crazy, nothing too out of the ordinary, CC first into Reactor Hellion into Cloaked Banshee. And we watched as Xanster kind of just did not really have anything at all to be able to even deal with it. He only had a couple of queens out. He got a very fast lair because he wanted to go into mutas and maybe try to go Ling Bane Muta or something of that nature. But again, I mean, on Cloud Kingdom, there's not a real reason for that, you know. You're better off going either Ling Bane into Infestor, into Broodlords, or into Roaches, something like I don't know. It just mutas aren't going to be exactly able to work that well on this type of map. You know, defense between those three bases are very easy to do. And again, as we just saw, he took a lair very late third, had no units defensively out on the map, and basically Hellions were able to roast away at a hatchery, and also Xanster had the opportunity to cancel it but never did. A lot of damage got done, and by the time he had the mutas, the Hellions and the Banshees were rolling on into the main and natural as well. The Banshees were cleared out, but the Hellions were able to take about another half of the economy of Xanster. So at that point, as we saw, as soon as he flew over and saw just a huge pack of Marines, he just GG'd out. As of course I explained, I mean, at that point he would have been able to just stand forward and win the game at that point. But we're here on Ohana. It means family. Let's get that out of the way. We're not going to deal with that today. We're not in the mood for that. We're not in the mood for that kind of crap. So, starting off with the TVT right now on Ohana, as we see good harassment right there already from 4GG, going to try to do as much as he possibly can. And Nama, you got to actually go defend your SCVs, bro. You can't just can't let 4GG disrespect you like that. So there we go. Nama able to finally get his factory and everything else going, adding on the reactor, so he's going to be opening up Reactor Hellions, it looks like. Very, I guess standard if you're planning to potentially go mech. You might go into Marine Hellion drop, or just maybe, I mean, it could mean so many different things. It could be a Marine Hellion drop, it could be into just Mass Reactor Hellion, it could be into 111 potentially, it could be Hellions Cloak Banshee into Expand, or I mean, there's just a lot of options right now out for Nama to work with. On the other side of the map, as we're watching, 4GG is starting his expansion. He's already got his reactor done, adding a factory just now. Of course, at this point, 4GG will be able to pop out Marines 2 at a time. That's going to allow him to kind of control his wall on his side of the map. I am a little bit worried because, again, the starport is kind of getting placed right now. He's getting the Marines and additional Hellions out on the map. And I still think that Nama's most likely going to go for a drop at this point of the game until I see otherwise. I'm going to stick with that thought process. Meanwhile, on the other side, again, 4GG looking very solid, very defensive at the same time, too. And again, this is my very most favorite matchup in the world. I would die. I mean, I wouldn't die, but I would do anything for it if every game was a TVT. Not really, but it's just really entertaining to watch to see what both players are going to decide to do. Here comes the starport getting placed down, swapping over the reactor barracks to the reactor Hellions. Going to be adding a tech lab right here, and it looks like 4GG is eventually going to go into Banshees, now getting the Hellions out of zone, and that's going to allow him, of course, to defend from a lot of Hellion and Marine pressure, especially if it comes down to drops. Now, good hold over here at the ramp at the natural. He was able to just kind of push those Hellions back, and again, with 6 of those Marines, definitely Nama cannot risk a couple of Hellions just kind of attempting to run by on in there, and now, especially with Hellions of his own, there's almost really no reason for Nama to get up there unless he's trying to do some sort of drop. Now let's see what's going on over here on the backside. Looks like Banshee's coming out, which is a little bit of a shocker for me. I really thought Nama would have gone for a drop. At this point, he's just going to go for a lot of harassment. Meanwhile, 4GG is sitting pretty nice right now at the moment, dropping a couple of mules, continuing his economic side of the game. And, you know, both players are fairly even. I would say the only thing I'd be worried about is the fact that Nama does not have an expansion of his own yet. He might have a little bit more army value, but if he can't get it done with that army value, he will soon fall behind in the economics, which of course will kill some of his production or his plans again to reinforce and add additional production buildings, etc., etc. We see the snowball all the time. It kind of just gets out of hand. At this point, Nama, will he bring the SCVs? Now that's actually something I never accounted for. Will he bring the SCVs? Man, he is Mr. Choo Choo Train, so. If he decides to bring the Nama train, I would not be I would not be too surprised. But at this point, he's got to think about expansion. He's got to think about going into the late game, because until he gets Cloak out for his Banshees are going to be completely vulnerable to the Vikings of 4GG. Already a very healthy Hellion count for 4GG himself, so Nama's isn't really seriously that intimidating. And as we see, there we go, beautiful mic right there by 4GG, catching a lot of those on the edge, and Nama is trapped, and all the Hellions will get taken. Hairball. All the Hellions for Nama will get taken out, and now he's coming out into the he's coming out to the watchtower over here on his side of the map. But again, a few Marines and a couple of Hellions and a Banshee were there to greet him. He's got to be careful. Again, the Banshee is pretty dangerous, but he's just got to be really careful right now, because again, Nama, he doesn't have an expansion of his own. He's still sticking. He's adding actually additional factories, so basically he's turning this into like a Marine Hellion Banshee 111-esque build, I guess if you want to call it. But at this point, you look at 4GG, man. 4GG is sitting completely pretty. I mean, he's got already he's got his natural saturated. He's already, let's take a look at the SCV count. He's got 31 SCVs, so 27 of Nama. He's got double mule capability that he could utilize. Now he's adding his additional he's adding 2 additional factories, so he's going to be going into mech. He's going to supply block himself, getting a pretty hefty supply lead. Now there's a couple Vikings, so the Banshees of Nama will not really do too much. On the low ground, of course, he's got the Hellions and the Marines and the Raven to take care of any of the Marines if they decide to focus down. And, I just think Nama's going to fall apart right over here. I don't think he's got enough to be able to hold this off, but again, a good positioning right there overall by by Nama right there at the top of the ramp. Good little concave. He's going to back up right now into his main, and I think that's a little bit of a better decision. Now, remember guys, no Seeker Missile upgrade is necessary, and he's almost got enough energy for it. I think it's 150 if I'm not mistaken, but he's going to just utilize them for turrets, and there we go. All the Hellions and the Marines are rolling on in here. The first tank is trying to come on out, but it will be too late to the party. All the SCVs are getting pulled, and with Hellions and DPS from the Vikings and the Marines, all the economy will get taken out as well. Poor tank like pops out, like ready to roll, and just like just get completely pot shotted down right away. Just fire, just everything just getting completely knocked away, and Nama's got to be a little bit disappointed. Again, I think I know what he was attempting to do, but again, just came a little bit too late. And of course, 4GG had a really nice build order. He mainly planned to play defensive with it and then go with aggression after that. And as we see the GG coming out from Nama, 4GG taking back